Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over some hard truths about dating that I feel like will be able to set you free from the frustration that you're feeling, where you don't actually feel isolated. You don't feel like you're the only person that is experiencing this. My understanding of relationships as somebody who's studying my doctorate in psychology, as well as somebody who is a therapist, I think that isolation is more common. I think dating frustration is more common, or it's more vocal. Maybe back then people didn't speak as much because we didn't have social media. But I think that this is a factor. And I would like to discuss that factor with you guys today. And I want to hear your sides as well. What do you think are some hard truths about dating and relationships that you think will help other people to not feel so frustrated? So, the first hard truth, the difficult truth to swallow, in my opinion, is probably something that's going to make people mad, but I make a lot of people mad on this channel because I don't really like to sugarcoat things. It's just my personality. Just because you're single doesn't mean you're ugly or unattractive. A lot of people believe that because you're single, you're unattractive. I don't think this is the case. And I know some of you guys are going to say, oh, I'm just saying that because I'm a person who's single and I want to feel attractive. I'm not single and I don't really pay much attention to my attractiveness, to be honest. And so that's not the reason I'm saying this. I'm saying this because I simply think I have seen plenty of people that I think are attractive, women and men, who take care of themselves, who I believe are conventionally attractive, are single. And like single as in like completely single. Sometimes not even by choice. And so I'm not saying this because I feel like I'm trying to I don't know, hype myself up. I'm not single. But I really feel like this is something that so many people struggle with. And I don't think it's healthy for your self-esteem. If you keep attaching your looks and your self-worth to your relationship status, I actually think that's going to keep you more single because people will see you as somebody that is unhappy or wanting a relationship for the reasons that are not as genuine as simply wanting that chapter in your life. It's more about not feeling unattractive or ugly, which I don't think is going to help you because you're not. And that's just not making sense. It's wasting a lot of time for you. And you might find a partner that's not as compatible, which is going to make you feel worse about yourself because you're going to pick up baggage and trauma because maybe you just really don't want to be single. You picked the wrong person. And then you're going to become more cynical about relationships and dating. And you're going to think you're unattractive again. And the cycle is going to continue. And so to stop some of that, understand that it has nothing to do with you being unattractive. It's very likely you're single because so many people are just struggling with relationships. This is a common issue. That's the reason I'm making this video. It can't just be one variable. That doesn't make any sense logically. The next point is for the gentlemen watching this video, but for ladies, you can reflect as well. Men can be jealous and competitive towards attractive men, similar to how women are. I actually think the jealousy between women is decreasing a little bit. And I'm starting to see that men being jealous and competitive of each other is actually more common. And maybe it was common before, but I just didn't notice it. But this is something I see that's really prevalent. And this is the hard truth about dating and relationships. If you're in a relationship, men are going to tear you down and say that you're a simp or you're whatever, or she's going to take your money or whatever it is, when in actuality, maybe you picked up a really nice lady. Then at the same time, if you're not in a relationship, maybe men are going to say, oh, you're too picky, you're, whatever. Not even you're too picky. I've seen another one. I can't remember the word. I actually don't remember, but there's a lot of negativity on men just making certain choices from other men. I see it in the comments very frequently. You guys are nice to each other sometimes, but sometimes you really tear each other apart. Like, it's okay for a man to make his own decision and just be the man he is, right? If he wants to compliment women, that's how he presents his masculinity. If he wants to work on going to the gym and focusing on himself, that's how he presents his masculinity. These are just different types of ways that men express themselves. It's not going to affect the other man. And so I think just leave each other alone to that extent and just be yourself. And women, you guys struggle with this a little bit less. I think it was a little bit more common before. Now it's less common, I feel. Maybe it's still common. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's kind of tricky. The next one I think is actually, it's hard to find an emotionally stable partner. And I think this is just the truth that we all have to understand. This is my belief. I could be biased because I'm in a relationship, but It's hard to find an emotionally stable partner because many of them stay in long-term relationships or healthy relationships. Relationships are really hard, and this part is going to be probably more biased than the rest of the video. Of course, everything anyone makes is biased. I think relationships are challenging. I had to learn to grow a lot in my relationship, and I changed a lot in a good way. And in my relationship, I was pretty young when I started my relationship. I'm still in that relationship, but I was really young. And he's, older than me. He's about a decade older than me. And so we were in different emotional places because I was just so young. And I had to really catch up and learn a lot of things, which was good. That's probably why I feel like I present myself a little bit more mature than my age. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Because of the fact that our age difference, I had to kind of run to catch up with certain things and learn certain things because we were in different emotional places. And I think that it helped me to become stable and also helped him to stay grounded in his way and be more energetic and things like that. That's what he describes it as. We're just learning things, right? We were able to learn from one another, but it was challenging, right? I introduced new ideas about relationships to him that he was probably set in his ways because he was older than me. And then I had to learn things about myself that I wasn't ready for at some point. But it takes a lot of courage to be in relationships and stay in one long term because you're going to challenge so many things. You're going to get hurt sometimes. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to make a fool out of yourself. You're going to make a mistake you wish you did not make. You're going to say things you wish you didn't say. But it doesn't mean you don't care or love your partner. It just means that you are a person that needs to change and grow in order to keep this relationship. And people, I feel, who are unable to do that are less emotionally stable to some extent. And that's why they remain single. Because if you do that, the relationship's going to break up. And so people who continuously stay single or are continuously in and out of relationships, there's usually a reason, not all the time, right? This is not all the time. It just makes it more challenging because people who picked up early in their life and said, okay, I have to do this. I got to change. I got to make a difference in their relationship. That's how they save their relationship and how they keep their relationship. And they have those skills. But people who don't have those skills are a little bit more likely to be in the dating pool. That's all I mean. I'm not saying it's going to be challenging. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think it's a little bit harder to find someone emotionally stable because that factors into play as well. The next one is, I think, controversial. And I know people are going to get mad, but you guys are going to get mad anyways. I think dating advice. Oh, and by the way, this is not dating advice. It's just my thoughts, and I just share it on YouTube. Anyways, dating advice from those who are single, I feel they mean well, but they don't fully apply if you're in a relationship or if you want one. Again, this one is way more personal to me. I have a lot of friends who are single or who are in and out of relationships, and their dating advice does not fit with my situation, right? Because they'll say, oh, let's say, for example, he doesn't text back even though he typically does in my relationship. A lot of people be like, oh, in a dating stage, it's like, oh, play games or wait or text 2 hours later because he did. That's not something that in my relationship, my significant other, he typically answers right away. So if he's taking like 2 or 3 hours to answer a text message, my immediate reaction, if he's not busy or if I don't know, I'm gonna worry because I've known him for so many years. My thing is, did someone, was he driving and someone, I don't know, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to completely overreact, but in our relationship, he's not going to get mad if I say, hey, is everything good? If I send another text because I've been with him so long. But if you're dating, maybe people will think that's off-putting or whatever it is. But if you're with someone for so long, you know that, right? Another example is don't make assumptions, right? When you're single, making assumptions about the other person can be detrimental. But I think in a long-term relationship, if you know them for so long, you can make assumptions because you know them. So I'm going to give another example about my relationship. Let's say I'm cooking dinner and he says, I want dinner after I get off work and maybe I'm going to chill a little bit, so I want it at 6 p.m. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make dinner at 6 p.m. And then around like 4:30, maybe he's working from home and he comes out of his office and he starts checking in the kitchen, right? And he's checking like if things are being ready or things are being cooked, or if I already started cooking, he starts like tasting some of the food or eating food off the cutting board. That means I know he's hungry. This is just, I know he didn't say that, but I know that about him. I could be wrong, but I've known him for so long. That means that even if he said 6 p.m., it's likely he would prefer if I finished dinner earlier than 6 p.m. this is just the way, and it works for me. It works. Usually if he's starting to do that, okay, that means I gotta speed things up a bit if I can. I don't have to just take my time. And this is an assumption that I make in my relationship all the time, and it's worked. But a lot of people who are single might not understand that random thing because you're still getting to know each other. And so these are just examples. You guys might judge me for those things. I'm sharing them because I feel like they will help. The next one is, I think this is important, and I see this a lot, okay? I think being single can be difficult and lonely. I think there's a lot of benefits to being single, I truly do, but I also think that it can be lonely and it can be difficult, and that's okay to admit that. I think this is a hard truth that will set a lot of people free. A lot of people who are single are a little bit more lonely, and it can be difficult. Doesn't mean they're always lonely. There are plenty of people in relationships that are lonely, but usually that's an unhappy relationship. But you're going to have times where you're lonely in relationships, sure. But I think being single is difficult because there is a safety net about someone who knows you for a long time. There is a comfort in someone understanding you. It's that same relationship with your parents to some extent, obviously not in a romantic extension, but if you're having a hard day, like for me, if I have a difficult day, I know I can call my dad. He's going to pick up the phone and I can complain and be in a little bit of a bad mood that I probably can't be in front of like a stranger, and he's going to still forgive me for it. I'm not going to say anything bad. I respect my father, but I'll still be like in, not the best mood, and he'll give me advice that I probably don't want to hear because he's very blunt, but it helps me, right? I know he always has my back because he's my dad, and that's something that you can have in relationships as well. I have the same thing with my significant other. I know that he's gonna tell me things that maybe I don't want to hear, but it's for my benefit. I also know that I don't have to be emotionally perfect all the time because I'm human, and he knows that, and he's not emotionally perfect either. When you're single, you don't get to feel that deep acceptance and unconditional love that you get when you're in a relationship or when you have really deep emotional ties. The next one is dating the wrong person can make finding the right person more challenging. I think that this is true. Let me know your thoughts. But I feel like if you date the wrong person and they traumatize you, they break your trust, they break your heart, they hurt you in any capacity, you become more jaded and more likely to push people away or avoid relationships because somebody hurt you. And that's harder for you to get another relationship without having that weight on your chest, on your heart, and just what you remember about these things. Let's say, for example, a lady cheated on you 3 times. I hope not, but gosh, things like this do happen. And you had no clue. You believe that she was loyal and she cared about you. Now you're going to question yourself anytime you meet a woman and you think, okay, I think this girl is great. She's loyal, but wait, I remember I thought my ex was loyal and she cheated on me and I didn't know. Maybe I'm not cut out for relationships, and you're afraid to open up. The last one, I think, is really important. I think a lot of people are just too busy to focus on dating. I think that there's so much things going on. We all have to pay our bills. We have to work. We have to clean our house. We have to cook. We have to do so many things. And especially when you're not in a partnership, you can't lean on each other because you're by yourself. And so it's even harder to date because you are just really busy. These are my thoughts. I could be wrong, but let me know how you feel. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate all you guys. I'm just trying to help. I don't mean to, step on your toes, ruffle feathers, but sometimes that's part of life, okay? Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.